So we all remember the massive change that Apple did to the MacBook at the end of last year, introducing the M1 processor. And if you guys don't also know, Apple used to work with Intel, and Intel basically made the processors for the MacBooks up to the end of last year. So before, when Apple were making the MacBooks with the Intel processors, the battery life was lasting around 5 to 6 hours, which is still alright, but not as good as some of the other laptop that's out there. So when Apple came in and put their M1 processor into the MacBooks, this boosted the battery life from 5 to 6 hours to 15 to 16 hours, which is absurd. This is not to say that the Intel Macs are bad at all, just Apple didn't really get to choose what went into the processors, and now they can do whatever they want because they are manufacturing their own processors that they put in the MacBooks. It's basically like the saying when people say in Formula 1, the power unit and the body work in harmony, and this is what I think Apple have done. The processor and all the things all around the processor work in harmony now, and I think this is why the battery life lasts so long. So now we are going to move on to the major changes that Apple are going to be making to the MacBook Pro 13-inch. The first rumour that has been leaked is the MacBook Pro 13-inch that is coming out later this year is going to have a more modern design, more resembling the iPhone 12's designing. This means that the MacBook Pro is going to have more flat edges like the iPhone 12, and it's also not going to have the bulge at the bottom. So you know, at the bottom of the MacBook, if you don't look at the bottom you can't see it, but it goes like this. It's like a curve at the bottom, so that's going to be removed, which will make the laptop much thinner. So can you all remember in 2016 when Apple removed basically all the ports and they just left the USB-C ports into the MacBook? And some people hated this, some people liked this, but I guess why Apple did this is basically USB charging is much quicker than the Magsafe charging that they had before. So I think my favourite leak and rumour that has been leaked is that Magsafe is going to be brought back to the MacBook Pro. It'll be really interesting to see how much faster the new Magsafe will be on the MacBook Pro. So also in 2016, Apple put a really good thing on the MacBook Pro. Apple decided to put a touch bar on the MacBook Pro, and this was an amazing idea. The only problem is with this touch bar, Apple haven't really done as much things with it as people thought, and this has meant that people have been wanting the function keys back on the MacBook Pro. So there have been rumours that Apple are going to remove the touch bar on the MacBook Pro 13-inch, and I think this is going to be a massive shame that Apple have to remove the touch bar, but I guess they've just listened to their customers that are using the product. So it has also been rumoured and leaked that Apple are going to be bringing a new M1 processor to the new MacBook Pros, and it'll be really interesting to see how they can top the M1 processor that came out at the end of last year, because it was so good. It was the battery life, everything about it. You could export a file off Final Cut Pro in like 2 minutes, a 4K file. That's absolutely unbelievable. It'll be really interesting to see what this processor is called. It could be called the M1 II, it could be called the M1X. It has been rumoured and leaked. It is going to be called the M1X, but it's not been confirmed yet. So if you have enjoyed this video, please do consider subscribing if you like my videos, and also give it a thumbs up if you have enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.